welcome to Bunny's Designs on Ustream. It's a live stream, and I was talking about my little book of watercolours, and I've managed to get some Winsor & Newton watercolours in a little set, and I love this little set, but I just can't open it very well. Nope, I can't open it very well at all. Oh. So this is another reason why I can't use it. So what I've done is I've taken the little pans out. Now some pans of colour, some come out a lot easier than others. So what I did, let me find the metal thing I had. That'll work. If you take the pans out, and this it doesn't matter how many pans you've got of colour, you just need lots of pages. That one won't come out for some reason. See if that one will come out. Well, this is the one that I've just my hands just will not work at the moment. Oh my goodness. No, that's it. So what I did was I took out the colour. Now if you're using a scalpel blade, and I've used pink on this one, so every time you've got to clean and be really careful when you're cleaning a scalpel blade. Always pull the cloth, otherwise you'll slice your fingers off. So what I've done is I've taken the colour out, and some of these popped out actually. Some of these just popped out, where the other ones I had to kind of cut round. So you take the colour, the little square, little cube of colour, and if you want about 2 millimeters, and you just run the knife across. A kitchen knife would do if it's a good serrated kitchen knife without using a scalpel. I've been using one since I was 16, so I know what they can do, and I still have accidents, but safety first. You must be really careful because you can't craft or paint if you've got your finger ends missing. So I've left that pan now, and I put that back into its little pot, and it's a little bit lower, but not much. It's still perfect, but that gives me 2 millimeters of pure yellow ochre. Now I have a yellow ochre there, and that's what they look like. It's about 2 millimeters, and what that gives me is a blob of glue on the back. Sorry, my little puppy's just puddled in. So you want that much glue, and then you put it down. Now I know what colour that is, but I've written on the top yellow ochre. So now I have 2 yellow ochres because it's actually a colour that you use quite a lot. But on there are pure watercolours, and these are Stenia. Is it Stenia? Senia? I can't remember what it's called, but they are professional watercolours. I had them free in a set, but they're really expensive. So if I put, I'll just get rid of that blade because I'm likely to. That's the only thing having a coloured surface is you can't see where you put your little pans. Well, you pop the little pan back in there, pop that back into there, and then these can stay at home. And I know people say, well, what's the point of that? One is you have something that size in the back of your sketchbook, and you've got you'd have to have a bigger pan than that. They do them in bigger pans, but you know you're going to have a lot bigger pan. That's probably about 5 millimeters thick, and you need the plastic on the top, and that just shuts. The same as all the others, they've all got plastic to protect them, and that gives me now some professional watercolours that I can use in a traditional way in my little book. I mean, all these I work very damp but not wet. Here I can do wet watercolours, or I can do pure watercolours, if you can see where I've run the brush through. And I'll show you the difference. There you can have the vivid, really vivid colours, then you have the bright colours, and then you have the paler colours, depending on how much water. So that's just given me over 500 now in there. Oh dear, I do apologise. I hate technology. I'm going to have to completely rethink. Hi everybody, I'm really sorry. It says that I have 5 viewers and welcome. Cannot find, unfortunately, it won't let me look at chat for some silly reason. So I do apologise. I'm going to try and get my daughter to get her laptop to work. No, but I do need a password to get on her laptop. My daughter's poorly in bed at the moment. So if you ask her what it is. Yes, I think it is, but is it... it might be capitals, yeah. Just a minute. My daughter, bless her, she's ill in bed. Let's see if that would work. If I can get onto hers, I can see... Oh, hi everybody. I found it now. Hi everybody. But the thing is, I can't see what I'm doing. So, hi Anita. Hi everybody. I've just got a little bit of chat. Sorry about that. Technical hitches. I'm going to invest in a new camera for next week, so that hopefully should be a bit better. But I hoped you found that interesting. Where am I now? Just bear with me. Hi everybody. So what I've tried to do is to put any watercolour pans you've got, you can now put in the little book. And also pastels. I've managed to get a full set of... what did I try last week? I managed to get all my designer gouache in. I haven't done this yet, but this is 36 Derwent pastel pencils. But I did manage to get the Rowney pastels. Doesn't say how many's in there, does it? I managed to get all those in there. It does say there's 144 in the box, but I think I've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 22, 24. I've got 26 in there. So I've got 26 colours. They are very pale, but the pastels. Yeah, the watercolouring. The gouache is in there. This was my first attempt. And then this was the watercolours, the proper watercolours in the tubes, professional watercolours, and they're sticky. But as long as they're against a plastic background, they would go in. And the gouache, it is cracked a little bit. If I look at chat, I can't see actually what I'm doing. So if I go back up here, make sure that I haven't frozen. So these are the gouache. And as I say, they have cracked a little bit, but the colour is fab. This is my little piece of paper that I was using. Bear with me 2 seconds. You can reconstitute it back into watercolour, and that's your designer gouache. So that's lovely for colouring in a book, because you have the lovely flat colours. So there's 10 there. I did the black and the white, but I never used black and white. And then there's a few on the back there. These are my experiments. I did try them with inks and the watercolour inks, and they are wonderful. They're like the palest. So I think this is the China Blue Winsor Newton, and that's a fab colour. So but just try anything. Some of these didn't work. These were silk painting inks. They didn't work. They dried. But I've wasted a couple of drops. This is on packaging. Just try it, dry it, leave it overnight to dry, and then you have the drops. I held it over there. The drops of colour. So you can do an ink wash if you were out and about. Instead of having 10 little pots of ink, you could do some beautiful line and ink washes, and they're just literally not even a millimetre. You do need another piece of plastic, or that's all I had, I would have put the inks at one side and then folded it. So experiment on packaging from the supermarket, and then when you have your little book, a photo album, you know that as long as you have the plastic between, I mean they're both pastels, you know, if I smear them, but the way I put them on was a drop of water first, because there's no tooth to this. You could use pastel paper if you wanted, but the tooth kind of, when you water it down and then you just smear the little squares, that gives you a good tooth, and it'll stick. So there's quite a lot of colour on there, and so they're all pastels. So I have another set of a few, probably 90 pastels, and if you're really worried about it, put kitchen, we call it greaseproof paper, but I think it's called kitchen or baking paper. That can go in between. Anything to protect your colours so they don't get mushed together. So I was quite excited about that, because not only can you just do all your watercolours, you can actually do your pans as a pure pan with a few millimetres of pure colour, and because they're stuck down it does stick, but that is another sheet of plastic. I used it, it's actually from my Filofax. I cut one out of some packaging, stiff plastic packaging, that one, not the flimsy, and then that just pops open. The only one I had difficulty was the yellow. For some reason it just melted on me, but never mind, I squidged it in there with the scalpel and put some colour on there, and of course the beautiful colours. I mean, they don't look any different. I haven't ruined them. I still have my professional watercolours in their little pans, but now they are in my book. So you can have your pastels, there's all these to go in there. So if you really wanted to be greedy, you could have hundreds and hundreds of colours in there. This is the colours I got in there. I put my Winsor & Newton colours, and they were quite soft, but as you can tell, take the top off, I haven't damaged them in any way. I just made a square of puddled water, and just little tiny circular movements filled the little wet puddle with colour, and then popped these back in. So these can stay at home nice and safe, and I have the colours with me. I also got some other ones as well. If you wanted just to use the Conti ones, these are beautiful for sketching if you're out and about. I'm going to open these up and I'm going to put those in as well. There's 4 colours in there. 4 colours, and they are for sketching. So again, they'll go in there as well. Now, for some reason, my laptop has decided that it wants a rest. So again, I do apologise. Hopefully we're still here. If I scroll to chat, hi. Yeah, the pastels work, but try them, just try them on. They're all on sketchbook paper except the inks and the Dr. Martens Hydrus. They're not on, they're actually on plastic, and the inks are on plastic as well. I wouldn't put these onto paper. They would work, but a lot of it would soak in. Am I still here? Oh, thanks, Sarah. As I say, for some silly reason, everything seems to have gone gone south, as they say. So they're the inks, and they do work. So say try it on a rough bit. They didn't work. Some of these, and I think the yellow worked as well, because the yellow, that one didn't work, but I know that one did. The green, oh, that one worked as well. You see, that's the green. I think this is a lovely vivid green that's in the inks as well. and it's drawing ink, but again, 2 drops, that's all you're wasting, is 2 drops. And I have to do it on here, I think. And you've still got some beautiful vibrant sketches if you want. Just put your inks, if all you have is inks, put inks in. If just you have pastel, put your pastel colours in. So I'll show you again, because I say I don't know if you saw what I did. So the inks are just dropped and left to dry. The pastels are a square. Now you don't have to have it very big, or you can have it big if that's all you've got, but I just do a wet puddle. I'm going to have to do that again because I'm not going to get them out quick enough. So there's a and you do have to do these, you can't do all your squares of water at once. You've got to do one square because that's almost dried now. So I'll get the colour, French ultramarine. I will get a slightly bigger paintbrush, and I will make a square. Try to keep them away from your pastels because they're quite delicate. So I'm just going to scroll up to the top so I can see what I'm doing. So I make a square, and I give myself enough room to label what it is, because again, you just want to go over the top of this when or you. So now that is quite wet. I wasn't quite as wet as that, but we'll see what happens. That is quite a wet puddle. So what I did, just make that a little bit drier. You start in slow circular moments, and you can see all the water on the top. And you just keep going until you don't think it's taking any more colour. And then you just move it down gently. Now if you do it slowly, if you do it over the top, it ends up just chalking off. So I've just little circular movements. And because these are really good quality, and that's all I've done to the pastel, it's just a little bit damp. There's no damage to that at all. It's still a pastel. But that will give you some lovely colour. And these pastels then will stay at home. So I'm pretty sure that I did label those. That looks like it's a lizard green, so let's have a look and see. No, that just is permanent green. So this is why you need to label them, because then once you've used all the colour off there, instead of throwing this away, you may not have used the purples, you can just re-wet that one square and draw it across. I didn't think that this paper, this Sea Life paper, this fairly good quality but cheap as chips, I've just bought a pad, A3 size, and which is double photocopy paper, and it was £2.40, but I cut that up, and that will because it depends whether you want to cut one some way or another. So I buy bigger sheets, but it's £2.40, and you can do some nice watercolouring on it as well. If you're just not extremely wet, but you can do quite nice things with it. So I was quite excited to find that you could get your pencils in it. I think the pastels, the pastel pencils, I think they'd probably go on a lot easier because it's not as well pigmented, even though they are lovely. So we'll try that one. So we can just shut that down, and we'll try a square. So we'll try a square like that, and then if you go across like you would normally, you can see the chalk just sitting on the top. You can see, because it's a pastel. So I've blown quite a lot of colour away. So if we do it the way we did the other ones, is we make a little fat puddle. And as I say, what you should do is leave a space next to it or at the end for labelling and also to do a colour swatch. So what I'm going to do is just in a circular motion, and you can see that it's turned it into a watercolour as it dries. It's no longer, and that's all I've done to it. I haven't damaged it at all. So where I can rub this off, because it's a traditional pastel, that's not come off as well. And then we can do the test. So we can just play with a little bit of colour. I mean, this will be quite pale because it's a pale colour. It's a pale, but you can still do a lovely wash with that. And when you're doing very delicate colouring in, it's lovely to have some really nice soft colours. Whereas if you were working from here, it would be difficult to get a soft colour. I think I've frozen. Just bear with me 2 seconds. Have I frozen? Oh, sorry, Sarah. Well, photocopy paper is about 8 and a bit inches by 11 inches, I think, is it? Or just short of 11.5 by 8.5 in inches. But some printer papers take larger ones. But basically, I just can't think. The photocopy paper book. That's a photocopy. Was that helpful? I think I've frozen, so just bear with me 2 seconds. I'm really sorry, you should have sound, but just see if I can get this up. We should be there in a second. Hopefully, no. I have definitely got to get a camera for next week because I cannot keep doing this every time. It drives me insane. And last week when my daughter was, what it is, it's because of the internet keeps dropping off, which is ridiculous, really. When you think where we live, I don't live in the outback or up a mountain. I live in a... Oh, I'm really sorry, I may have to stop the for some strange reason. My internet's not working. And I don't know why it won't sort itself out. See, my camera won't let me. Maybe back. No, we're not back in. Yeah, it's not going to come back, I don't think. I honestly don't know why it does this. So I'm really sorry, folks. It's been a bit of a catastrophe today. That's better. We're back. Yes. Sorry about that. So that's a photocopy paper, which is about 8.5 by 11.5, I think. Pretty sure. If I go back to here, just bear with me 2 seconds. Right. So was that helpful? Yes, I thought you can still hear me because it's a different system. It's a different system. Right. Was that helpful in my little book? Did everybody get the fact you can put almost anything into this little book? If you just bear with me 2 seconds. If I pass you that, would you take it upstairs and then pass me it back? I need the password on it so that I can see chat. I can't see chat and see what I'm doing at the same time. So people can. Sorry about that. It's just hubby can take that inside, and then so she's poorly, bless her. She's normally really good sitting next to me. So did you find that interesting? The fact that you can get basically anything. You can try any of your stash that you have, your supplies of watercolours, inks. Try them on a bit of plastic. If it's ink or if it's liquid, try it on plastic. If it's a pencil or it's a crayon and it's watercolour based, try it on some nice sketch paper, but not watercolour paper. And that's what we did with the little. Hopefully, I'm still here. Am I there? So I've asked my husband to get. So my daughter's poorly at the moment, so she was too poorly even to sit next to me. So that was a pastel. Inside here we had these are the tubes of gouache. But again, they have cracked. Now if you put them on plastic and let them sit to dry, they probably would be better. I think I've just put them back on. I've just put them again here, so I've got them twice. That was my practice, and that's the one that I've decided to squidge them again. But they cracked when I did it circular. They're still cracked. But it's quite nice to have the gouache because, as I say, they do dry flat. But you can mix and match them. There's no reason why you can't mix and match them. Oh, thank you, Sarah. Yeah, it's. I say I'm pretty amazed that. Did you all see that you can get your little pans? You get if you have little pans of proper watercolour, you can take them out. That's the yellow one. For some reason, I put it in the freezer, but it still didn't work. It went a little bit squidgy, so it's kind of smushed across there. That's the only one that didn't work. The others, if you take the little, very carefully get the colour out, you can then cut about a couple of millimetres off the bottom and then just stick it in with glue. The one I stuck in earlier, both of them, the pink one's a bit squishy, but the yellow ochre one, it's stuck. That's not going anywhere. So that means that as much as I love this, I can't open it very well. And I have that lovely big space for making the colours. The only thing you've got to be careful with that is, whatever you do on here, you've got to wash it off, and then you've got to dry it before you shut it, because that is traditional watercolour. So bear with me 2 seconds. My husband's brought me the laptop back, so this may work now. So let's see if I can find what I'm doing. Was that helpful? This one's a Newton, probably. No, these are Winsor & Newton. I can't get them out. I took out this one. You can cut them out really carefully. I can't find anything with it today now. I didn't have that clean. Just bear with me 2 seconds. I did lose the little one, the yellow ochre. I popped it somewhere and I can't find it. And I can't get these out very well. No. If I pop them underneath. No, I haven't seen them soft either. Maybe it's because of where we live, but I've just cut the yellow ochre one. I don't know what I've done with it. Some of them pop out because they are really what do I do with the other ones? That's some of the other paper that I use. That's in my little book as well because it's fairly smooth. Now that's watercolour postcard, and it says it's £140. I have been known to use that as well, but it's if that's all you can get hold of. I would think any pan. I mean, you could do it with the Gansai. Oopsie, avalanche. Gansai Tambi watercolours, but they're quite thin. So you wouldn't want to really do that. I've just made a puddle and put them in differently. But there is no reason why you can't do that the same way. You can, if you don't want to cut a piece off, you can make a puddle, a big fat puddle, and water it and get a big paintbrush full and then squish it down to make a puddle. And this is the same paper, this is sketchbook paper, it's the same paper. And then just label it. So I know that when I've used that puddle, if you can see there, I haven't used that very often, but the greens, yeah, you've got to be really careful, especially using a scalpel blade, but a kitchen knife would do, a kitchen knife would be fine. You've just got to make sure, if you hold it with a scalpel, a pair of tweezers or a pair of pliers to hold it steady, you can just doing it gently. You're not cutting down. If you just, especially with a sharp blade, if you just do it gently across and stroke it, eventually it will go down. It will go through. But you're not damaging them at all. That one, I say, was a bit of a disaster. Or the other thing to do is just cut straight down like a piece of cake. And then you've got a smaller square, but you can still use it. You can still use it. But I just can't open these silly pops. I love them, but I just cannot open them. That gave me all those colours onto there. But I like the gouache ones and the pastels. Again, some of these I use differently. This is the Peerless. These are the Peerless watercolours that already come in little squares. So you just cut them off. But I think there's about 50, 44, 50. So if you just wanted those in your little book, you can just put that through. And I have one that's an A5, which is it'll be 6 by 4, and it depends what size. Yeah, I've got all these little tubes. All these will squish into a shape, whichever shape you want, and then let it dry a couple of days, and you've got them ready to put into your little book. But that was my idea, and for some strange reason I can't find my other thing that I was looking for. I mean, these are pans. Are these pans? Yeah, these are pans as well. These are, which I would think, the new ones I would think probably come out, but you would get these out. Or even just cut a little piece out and stick that on, instead of carrying the heavy tin around with you. But it's not easy, I have to say. It isn't easy, but if you're determined to get them in there, then just go steady and gentle and try them on plastic. The crayons and pencils all go on there, and I have got the Inktense blocks in here as well. So again, I've got, I don't know if that's them, they could be. Yes, these are the Inktense blocks. And again, I didn't wet the paper, so these are quite they're quite loose, like a pastel, but they do have the plastic in between. I would think if you did, let's try a wet one like we did with the other pastels. Just have to put that away because I'll end up cutting my fingers off otherwise. So if you take a square, and I've tried to be neat and tidy, but it doesn't last very long. So that's quite a wet puddle of water on there. Just see if we can see that. It's the third one in that one. So it's quite a wet puddle. And you just kind of little circular motion, and you can feel and you can see where the water is absorbing the pastel. Or it's more like a chalk is the Inktense blocks. And I haven't done it just in one layer, just one soft layer. Then these stay at home, because again I wouldn't be able to get that silly top off every time I wanted to use it. And then this isn't dry. This could probably do with drying a bit, but we'll just try it. You've still got some nice colour, because the Inktense are very intense, as their name suggests. So they actually work quite well in there. And when you're colouring in, I take my little book for colouring in, another book. So when you're colouring in, you don't want sometimes really intense colours. You want some really nice pastel-y colours. So has anybody tried anything else? The white night paper is quite good. Oh dear. And it is really good for colouring in napkins as well. Well, I've only got one napkin, but I started to draw my own designs, so that lends itself. These pastels, the Inktense blocks, I should call them rather. So if you have some water, I'll have to go back up and see if I'm in frame now. You're just dropping the colour in. You've got to be a little bit careful with this, because this is hand drawn, and you can get a bit carried away really, especially when you can't see what you're doing. But it gives you some colour. This is the one. I'll put a white background. Bear with me 2 seconds. White background. If I put a white background behind there, does anybody want to see napkin colouring in? It is a little bit boring. Can't seem to get rid of that. Oh, that might be better. So, is that okay for everybody? So these seem to be a little bit darker, these, so I may not be able to get the pastels quite as, because I was trying to think more about colour and shade of a real flower, rather than trying to just daub colour on. But I always have a spare piece of paper. I mean, that's Inktense, so it's quite vibrant as that. And we'll just, I'll zoom in a bit and then see if I can zoom in a little bit. See if it doesn't kind of flash out as much. So I was colouring in that one, wasn't I? If you've got any questions, put them in caps, and I might be able to just grasp them. Because is that too blurred, do we think? I think that's a bit blurred. I think that might be better. I'll just hold that out there. I haven't mastered this, I have to say. I'm really sorry, but I'm just so is that okay for everybody? I just have to have a quick slurp. Is that okay? So the Inktense there that I put on last week when I was... so these are just Inktense, and I didn't do what I did earlier with the water. I've just got the Inktense pencils. And as I said, because they are very well pigmented, your colour goes a long way. But I'm trying to get that little bit more precise with this. Yes, what did I have last time? I think I had... see, that was the napkin. That was the last one that I did. It doesn't seem to be focusing though. It's not focusing well. I can't understand why it's not focusing well. But what I was trying to do is give that a little bit more, a little bit more shade, and thinking more of how the flower would sit. I think that's the first one I did. And then I've been experimenting with, oh, that was the second. This is the second or the third one, and I was trying to think more of a flower would look in real life, and thinking about shading and light hitting the petals. So they're going to go in my napkin journal, but I think I'm going to have to colour them first, then glue them in, because once I've glued them in, I don't think I'll be able to watercolour them. Although I do have acrylics. So that's with the two sheets. I'm a bit of a tight Yorkshire lass. So the two sheets that oh my goodness me, in the middle, sorry, I jumped out my skin then, I'm really sorry about that. Oh, you found some sketch and wash pencils. Yeah, have you managed to get them into a little photo book? This is a book for, and nowadays, because people don't print photographs out, you find these all over the place. I found these, I think, for £1 or 20p. And this is a lovely little size, and you put it next to mine. That was from Paperchase, £1.50. And this one is a very old one. Somebody's had it for photographs. And this is a top-loading one. So you just have to work out, like that would be putting that one inside there and having colours there and colours here. Or just having colours there. Or what you could do is you could stick one of these, or this size, this is postcard size. We call this A6, I think, about roughly about A6, which will obviously be the photo. If I find a ruler, 2 seconds, I will. Don't know why my daughter's decided to take all the cupboards apart. Oh gee, why do girls want to do something? Excuse me. Amy, can you shut the door, darling, please? Thank you. If it's not dogs, it's kids. Right, the size of this one is 5 inches by just short 3 3/4. This is a postcard size, which it doesn't say what it is, but it is 5 3/4 by 3 3, just short of 4. So we call that A6, and then 2 of that would be A5, which is the Midori Hobonichi. They're about A5s. So, but you could make your book any size you wanted. In the Paperchase, and I had one out ready to show, and now I've put it away somewhere. In the Paperchase, there is I think it was probably in the book. I had it in the book. I showed it last week. And it's what we call A5. If I can just put my hands on it. And again, it's a photo book. It's plastic. As long as you've got the plastic sheets in, you can use anything. So this one, you could stick in there or cut it down. And you can stick that in the middle. So if you just have an ordinary photo little booklet, you can cut the pieces down to the size you want and stick them in the middle. Now I wouldn't use photocopy paper, but ordinary sketchbook paper's good. That will be fine. And what you could do is stick that in there, and then you've got your colours on one side. That's protected with plastic, and the colours on the other side is protected by that page. So if you had 12 or 15, then you could possibly push that inside. And that's all it is. And that's a lovely little size to go with a little sketchbook. And then if you have your little paintbrush, then if you have that, you can, but I don't tend to use a sketchbook really. I tend to take that with my colouring in book. I haven't started this one. No, I haven't. If you just bear with me 2 seconds. That's why I keep getting myself in a knot. There's a long wire on this thing and it's not doing what I want it to do. But if you bear with me 2 seconds. Hi. Right, sorry about that. I'm just so happy to bring something in that I've used. Where did we get to? Where did we get to? Yes, it won't photocopy onto there, but it hasn't put too much in. I think I'm just getting greedy now. I'm just obsessed with getting colours into my book. But I mean that's a suitcase. That is a big suitcase of supplies in there. It's not that one, Nigel. It's the one I took to Filey, Nigel. Thank you. I wanted to show my little book for colouring in. But as I say, there is a suitcase full in there. I keep forgetting how many I've got in there now, but I think it's over 500, which is enough for anybody. So hi everybody, if people keep bobbing in, my chat's not working well. My other laptop's decided that it doesn't want to talk to anybody. So I use this calendar, this old calendar, because it kind of stops it going crazy on me. So I started to draw, because I'm a tight Yorkshire lass. I have, when you pull your napkins off, you have 3 layers. Your top layer is is the pattern, and then you have 2 other layers. One's got a slight pattern through it, and then you have another one. I'm just trying to think which way around. I can never tell which way around they are. So I thought, well, actually, you can draw what you like on your colour. So what I found is the perfect pen wouldn't work because it's very fine. This is a Staedtler pigment liner 0.05, and it's waterproof. So what it allows you to do, and the other reason I like this is it's holding my napkins steady, because sometimes I do like to iron them before I colour them. Rather a sad girl. It's a good job nobody can see you ironing napkins, isn't it? So what I was going to, and the other thing of course is being a napkin has to have the white behind it. So you need to keep this fairly, there's some paint under there, that's not helping, is it? You need to keep it fairly taut and then very gently glide the pen over. And if it does tear, it's not the end of the world, is it? Thank you, then. There's a little shop in Filey where we go. This is what I use, and it won't go that way, so I'll have to do it upside down. So I do apologise. And now the little dog, I'll try and bend it, if I can bend it. Oh, no. So it's Sea White of Brighton, but it's just, it's, oh sorry, the puppy's decided to want to, it's just good quality sketchbook paper, but you can get away with a fine wash on it. And this one is quite a large one, and it was, £2.80. But that's two ordinary printer paper size. So I photocopied these to use in the little book I'm making. So it's a good size, and you can cut them down to any size you want. And if you're making a sketchbook for yourself, you can make the photo book with colours the same size, so everything matches and goes together. So what I was going to show you, so for drawing, that's quite good. You've got to remember to keep it taut, but you can draw anything on that third and fourth thin sheet. You take your permanent ink pen, because if you try to watercolour on anything else, it won't work. Now this is my doodle that I've been doing for years, that I but you could even trace, because it's almost as thin as tracing paper. If you wanted to do a butterfly, you could just put that over, and because you can see through, you can just, got to be a little bit careful and kind of you're just gently stroking the pen across, because any pressure and you will go through your tissue paper. But you've got a little butterfly then you can colour in. So I hope that's interesting, and I will show you what the colours look like using this. They are fab. What did I just do? I've bought, I found it in Waterstones. I tried to buy it online 3 times, it wouldn't work. I've been colouring in that one, and then I found this one in the works. I think it was £3 or £4. I've been searching everywhere for my paintbrushes, and I have that little book as well, which is brilliant. There's my paintbrushes, and there's my little water pot. So I seem to have found everything that I need there. That was very good. So this is a good little book. It's Believe, but it's got the gold edging, and I love sketching in that. And it will go through, but it doesn't bleed through, because I've been colouring. I wanted to do it ink turbo, but I failed miserably. I was poorly. But they're watercolours, and so I have a lovely little chunky book. This is another little book. This is a Ryman, and this is the pen that I use now. It's the Point 18, so it is quite fine, and it's quite nice for scribbling and sketching. From the Wish app. I don't know what the Wish app is. Do you mean, sorry, I've shown you many things. The Sketchy Stories one. Sarah, is that the Sketchy Story one? This is from the gentleman that did Imagimorphia, but at the moment the works have got them for £5. No, it isn't. No, I haven't been on that one. Oh, I'll have to have a look at that. No, it was Amazon, and somebody said you can have it for £4.50 or something, with a bit of postage, which is cheaper than £10.99, which is how much it normally is. But they're very crafty, because when you try to buy it, then they tell you that it's not done, and would you like it to buy it again? And when you buy it again, it's £10. So I wasn't very happy. But yeah, I think Dee Dee was showing this book, wasn't she? It's a fab book. But if you go on YouTube, there's a couple of ladies or gentlemen, you can't tell, and they just do the flick. And I thought that if I didn't want to carry this around with me, because I find it really hard to hold, then I can just start colouring in this one. And it's got some pretty good scribble things in it. That's amazing, is that one. That's the Sketchy Stories one. And this was in the works. I think it was £3. And I just started to sketch and colour in that one. And these, I think, if I remember rightly, just bear with me 2 seconds. Yes, these are the vibrant colours of my book. So I sit there with my little tray on my knee, and I was working with that, and I found that really easy. I just have to go up and see if I haven't frozen, because I can't see what I'm looking at. So that's my little book, and they're the water pans that I've cut off, and I can just basically, I have my little water pot, which holds that down, and I was just kind of, as soon as you touch the pans, because they are professional watercolours, the green's there. So that's a lovely thing to have, and they are very vibrant because they are watercolours. And that kind of kept me occupied all weekend, because I was a bit lame. So was that the book you were talking about, Sarah? Let me have a look, just bear with me 2 seconds. Oh, right. I can't think who had this first. It's quite a few years I've had this. It's called Believe. Well, people were a bit disappointed with the paper, but that's... if I go back to my Indian ink isograph rotring pen, my doodles and watercolour, all this is watercolour. It doesn't feel particularly nice, I have to say, but I'll just double check that I'm in frame. If I hold that back, I haven't used it for a while. These pens only like flat surfaces. So if I just draw this really quickly, by the time I've finished, it's a little bit scratchy. You've got to be a little bit careful. If you can hear that, it's not as soft and fine. There's a little bit of a tooth to it. So this pen doesn't lend itself really to anything like that. It's got to be very flat paper for there. But they're about £13. I think the set's 40 for 3, but I used them in graphics for years and years. But I've had them for years. One of those I've had since, well, 3 of them I've had since I was 16. So this pen is still quite fine. This is the one I use on the napkin, and because it doesn't draw in the same fashion. The other one is a tube with a fine wire through it, and the ink drops down. This one is different, and it's just lovely to use. It's a lot easier. and there isn't very much in it actually if I pull that line together with that one. They're very similar, and they're both permanent inks, so you don't have to worry at all about it. I think if you put markers on, I think it does. So if I go back to what I've just done now, and we take a paintbrush. I hope this is alright, it's not boring everybody to death. Let me have a look. Right, so if you just touch that, it's not so bad to use, and I like it because it's a nice little book. It's a nice size. Probably have to work a little bit wetter. It's not as easy as photocopy paper. I love watercolouring on photocopy paper. It just spread a little bit, but you just have to think like you do with your watercolours. Am I in frame? Let me have a look, see if I'm in frame. Is that, oh, you can't see very well. It stayed within the line, it hasn't gone out the line at all. But for practicing, it's quite a nice little sketchbook. I don't think I've done very much in this. I don't think I've done very much in this one. I've done some more doodles. I just doodle. Now that's been dried for a while, that one. But the beauty of these watercolours, these pans, is, as you'll see, the colours are very vibrant. My hand doesn't work very well, just can't get on this angle. But again, if you can just stroke the page, and that's why I like watercolouring, because you're just stroking. Oh, I lost that. Sorry, I'm off camera. There's something wrong with. I'm going to have to invest in a camera next week. I really am, because people can't see what I'm doing. But these colours are really nice on here. But as I say, I work on a little tray, and it seems to be just about enough for me. And these are really vibrant colours. As long as you're careful, it's not bleeding too much, but I'm not working very wet. And I'll show you what's on the page in a minute. So I think because I'm quite used to working on napkins, and you've got to be really careful. But you know, everything's a test, isn't it? Use a back page, or pull a page out and try it. But that seems to be quite flat and quite nice. As I say, because these are proper watercolour pans of colour, they do lend themselves to be quite well. And then there's no bleed through. You can see it, but there's no bleed through. And that's quite a vibrant. That's Elysian red. So it's quite vibrant, is that? Just have to have a drink if that's. If you want to see it, if you want anything, say, put it in caps for me to have a look at, because I keep kind of trying to flick from the thing. So yeah, it is a nice book, but it's a lovely chunky book. I do like big books, I have to say. It's my thing, is a big chunky book. And it does have two. Hold on now. It has two bookmarks. So, you know, you can pop that in there and shut it, and you know you're fine. So it will do most a little watercolour. It will take a little watercolour. But that is a really nice book. But what I really wanted to show is that I hope that was interesting and informative. So I was playing about with this, and I normally photocopy, but I didn't want to photocopy these. So I had a bit of a play, and I knew instantly what I was going to use for the. If I flick to my. This is why I need some labels on that. I'm getting too many colours in here. They're my Graphitint Derwent Graphitint pencils, and I thought they would be perfect for the Imagimorphia, for all the metal parts. So that was my first attempt, and then this is using on my knee my little set of paints there, and so they are lovely and vibrant colours. Just you can see them better, and you can play with the greens. You can get pale greens, and you can really play like watercolours. Sorry, I think that's one of the dogs grumbling. I do apologise. So you've got some quite nice colours in there. Turn it that way, you can see some at the bottom. And that's just from that pan. So if you just wanted to play with this, just those colours, because I wasn't in the mood to flick through all my colours like I normally do. And again, that's an unusual thing. Is I usually just kind of flick through different colours, because of the way that I have got all these colours. I haven't done that, so the book is actually changing. I'm changing how I use it. I'm changing that I want to use it as a traditional watercolour book, which I didn't think I could do that. So was that helpful? Again, this is a nice size because I can colour in on the go and just take that with me. And I do have quite a lot of paintbrushes in there, but they kind of, so that's my suitcase full of colours. So I'll stop this video because I've kind of waffled on and done something completely different now.